when I think of something like that, that turns into more of a works-based mentality of trying to do something for God.
Yeah,
and that's what the world teaches us, works-based mentality. You're never good enough because you haven't done anything good enough.
Yeah.
I prefer, personally, to translate that instead of, I wasn't trying to do things for, I wasn't struggling to do things for God, I was struggling to surrender things to God.
Yeah, yep, exactly.
And that's actually, because we could never do enough to be holy or anything like that, because there is only one.
Exactly.
That is holy.
Exactly.
You gotta live it, you gotta love it. Testimony goes on and on and on. It's magnetic, it's prophetic, it's God's stories being told.
Welcome to the Jesus Magna podcast. I'm your host, Joel, and today we're joined with Toby. How you doing, Toby?
G'day, mate. Going well.
Awesome. Thanks for joining us on the podcast today. I'm excited to hear what God's done in your life. And tell us where we are. Where are we, Toby? In New Zealand?
Yeah, so we're in Tauranga. We're in Faith Bible College at the moment in their recording studio.
And are you a Tauranga-ian?
I am not a Tauranga-ian.
Right?
I am a Wellingtonian, but more importantly, a Kapiti Coastian.
Okay, awesome. Because we spent heaps of time in Wellington. Great place. Very windy. But, I mean, if you're in a windy place, dries your clothes a lot faster outside.
Yeah, very true. Very true.
Very cool. So, Toby, how old are you?
I am 20 years old.
20 years young.
Young.
Awesome.
Truth.
I love it. And tell us, Toby, none of us have always been a Christian, so you haven't always been a Christian, but would you be able to tell us your journey that brought you to the Christian faith? I think that's really important for us to tackle, because how do we get from the kingdom of darkness to the kingdom of light? That's a very important journey to navigate through and to understand, and the reason for the hope that we have now. Why don't you take away with that?
Cool. So it's been a bit of a journey. So I guess I start a couple of years back when I was in, the kingdom of darkness. We'll start from there, and then we'll transition, into the kingdom of light, which we're now in. Praise the Lord. So I was about kind of like 16-ish when I started kind of like. I was brought up homeschooled, so I was brought up kind of.
Laura was brought up homeschooled.
Hey, awesome!
Yeah, she turned out okay.
I think I turned out okay as well, but we'll let them. Yeah. So I started off homeschooled, which was awesome. Built a lot of awesome skills, with communications and stuff like that, and social skills that didn't drop. I probably have I have pretty decent social skills if I say so myself. So I started off homeschooled, and I was a little bit sheltered from the things of the world, which, is awesome. My parents trying to protect me, which is, absolutely all good. I started to get a little bit curious onto, the things of the world. I seen, friends kind of, leave youth group, and I'm like, oh, where have they gone? They've gone to parties, or they've gone,
So you always grew up in the Christian church?
Yeah.
So you went to youth group, you did all the,
I
guess, standard, typical Christian household.
Yeah, so I brought up in a Christian household with awesome parents, very awesome parents. Shout out Gary and Deb, mum and dad.
I think it's really important to honour your parents,
absolutely,
especially if they kept you on track with the faith. And
totally.
They do their best pretty much every time. There's a decision that's made where maybe we fall away for a little bit, but it's those moments. How we're brought up a lot of the time. The Bible even talks about this, bring up your child in the ways of the Lord and they will not sway far from it.
Yep.
It does say far from it though. So sometimes you sway away a little bit.
Yeah.
But then God corrects us a little bit. So
that
very,
makes
very cool.
So much sense, like looking back at it now. Like in my kind of years of darkness, it was going to be inevitable that I was going to come back. Just with the foundations that my parents sowed into me, and I went to quite a lot of Christian kids camps. I went to a lot of Christian kids camps like our Rancho and Forest Lakes, and spent a lot of time there as a kid and as a leader, leading kids and going to Sunday school and youth group and stuff like that. So the foundations of Christianity in my life were rich as, foundations of Jesus were rich as. But yeah, as I started to get older, the ages of like 16, I wanted to, be curious, and I was like looking to be curious. So I wanted to find, what it is that has been kind of not hidden, but not in my life. And I was like, oh, there's a whole other world out there. So I wanted to discover that world.
The world of the world.
The world of the world. And man, did it chew me up, spit me out, and throw me out way worse off.
It does, eh?
It really does. So there's nothing,
Sometimes you don't know how good you've got it
mate.
When you've been walking with the Lord.
Yeah.
You got faithful parents, faithful church.
Yeah.
And then until you don't have it anymore.
Yeah.
But one thing that I can't fathom is somebody who's never had that. Never had a good church.
Yeah.
Never had church in general, never had God in general, never had godly parents or godly upbringing. It astounds me how people can go through life without that love, without that incredible discipleship and grace that's poured out on us. But yeah, sorry, keep jumping in.
Absolutely, no, that's good. Yeah, it's true. So I'm very grateful for the awesome foundations that heaps of people have sown into me. But yeah, I started to get curious with alcohol and smoking and drugs and etc. And it was all about like deceit, because I had such an awesome family. Like, why would I ever need to stray into this this unknown, ungodly world? But I did. So I tried keeping it as secret, and I was being deceitful as possible, sneaking out or, sneaking stuff in my room, hiding things, lying about things to try and cover up my searching, I guess, my very poor searching. So yeah, I was going to parties, and I was going to drink, and then, smoke, and do drugs, and then I'd go to like youth group the same night, or, go to church the next day. And it was just a very empty lifestyle. I did that for, a couple of years, 2-3 years.
It's the whole sitting on a fence, isn't it? When you're sitting on a fence and you got God on one side and the devil on the other, and you sort of got one foot on either side of the fence.
Yeah. Yes.
I don't know if you've ever, I always imagine a white picket fence. Do you know how uncomfortable that would be to sit on that for that long?
Pretty uncomfortable.
Yeah,
I was on that for a few years.
Yeah, and you do. I mean, I think almost spiritually, your body naturally just goes, you got to choose.
Yeah.
You cannot be 1 foot in one foot in the other.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which leads it to, the Lord put a verse on my heart, which was Revelations 3:16, which is, because you are lukewarm, neither hot or cold, I'm about to spit you out of my mouth. And he gave that verse to me while in the back of a church, hungover, I won't mention that.
That's all right, you got to be real. So you got hungover?
Yeah, I was hungover, and
not in a good place.
Yeah, not in a good place. I wasn't in a good place, and the Lord gave that verse to me. Either be lukewarm. I was still going out to drink, going out to party, then being convicted, and trying to keep up the faith. Trying to read my Bible and trying to be good enough and trying to do all these things. But I wanted to do both lives straight up. I wanted to do the life of sin, and how horrible that was, and how damaging it is. And I wanted to keep up, Jesus, but I just couldn't do both, and that was the thing that was destroying me. So, yeah,
that's really interesting that you had a desire to do both.
Well, yeah, in sin, I was still like, I want,
turmoil inside
it was hard. It was painful. It was very, very painful. Just trying to follow God, but it was never enough. And then just trying to, keep up with the world of sin.
So when you say you're trying to follow God, when I think of something like that, that turns into more of a works-based mentality of trying to do something for God.
Yeah,
and that's what the world teaches us, works-based mentality. You're never good enough because you haven't done anything good enough.
Yeah.
I prefer personally to translate that instead of, I wasn't trying to do things for, I wasn't struggling to do things for God, I was struggling to surrender things to God.
Yeah, yep, exactly.
And that's actually, because we could never do enough
totally.
to be holy or anything like that, because there is only one.
Exactly.
That is holy.
Exactly. So yeah, it was like a a works-based relationship, and it just wasn't working out. Because I was still holding on to sin closely. So
yeah, what happened next after that? So you obviously got hit with that verse in church, hungover.
Yeah, that was given to me at some point in 2019. I'm actually not too sure what the time date. I think it would have been to the end of 2019.
When you say it was given to you, was that something that the pastor said over the sermon, or someone physically came up and said, hey, this verse is for you?
Nah, God spoke to me.
Oh, God spoke to you.
Yeah, he highlights things. So I don't hear an audible voice. I haven't heard an audible voice yet. God kind of speaks to me through like thoughts, and he just highlights things, and he like I'll have a thought. I'm like, wow, that's a very intense thought, and it just goes on for days and days, and it kind of lines up with life, and I'm like, okay, this is a bit weird. So that verse is highlighted.
It's a thought that stands out above everything else.
It's undeniable. Well,
wow.
I mean, it's a little bit hard to kind of. I have a lot of thoughts. I think a lot of people have a lot of thoughts, so it's quite hard to like tell from if it's a Toby thought or if it's a God thought.
Yeah.
But the God thoughts last longer than 10 seconds.
Yeah.
They last
10 seconds.
They last like, a couple of weeks or
Your
longer.
Toby thoughts only last 10 seconds.
Yeah. Yeah, it's like, I want some cheesecake right now. And then it's like, oh, cool, it'd be nice to have a cup of tea.
Actually, a pie would be good.
Actually, a pie would be
I
nice.
think I might have Toby thoughts as well.
Yeah, I have.
Mine
Yeah.
only last about 10 seconds.
Pies are good. But yeah, so yeah, these thoughts, that's kind of the way God speaks to me, is just through my thoughts. So like being transformed in the renewing of your mind is so important, because, if the Lord speaks to me through my mind, then far out, I need to clear out all the junk then.
Come on.
That's something I'm still, like, this is the middle of the testimony. I mean, there's still testimonies that have come, but I'm only 20, there's more to come. So yeah, in the process of, renewing of mind, it's a constant thing, of, chucking out rubbish, and declaring truth and rebuking lies. So yeah, God spoke to me and highlighted that verse, and that verse was on my life for a couple of months, and I was kind of like, okay, cool. And then I just started to give up things. So I started to give up drugs, and then smoking, and then like alcohol, whatever order that was in, and
so you had fallen into this circle of these addictions, drugs, alcohol, whatever it was. Was that through people that you're hanging out with at school?
Well, I was homeschooled.
Oh, yes, I forgot. Sorry, my bad.
Not at school. My sister influenced me to do none of that.
Was not my family members.
No. I guess that was through friends I was hanging out with, who kind of were the same boat. Christians, and struggling with the same thing, of being brought up in a Christian household the whole life, and then being curious. There was a group of us that were all kind of curious, which is the Lord's working on them, and still is, and I still pray for them, and I still try and keep in touch with them, and encourage them. But the Lord was working on me first, and my friends will be next. At that point, my liver was starting to kind of deteriorate, and it wasn't functioning the way a liver should. So whenever I used to get drunk, the hangover used to last for a week. It wouldn't be maybe a weekend or something, or like a couple of days after. It would be like a week, and I wouldn't be able to do anything. Mentally, I was just drained.
I feel like I must have that. I've recently stopped drinking.
Awesome.
Just over the last few months, really. And just felt the Lord say stop. But
awesome.
I cannot lie. The last time I think I had 2 beers. I had a hangover the next day from 2 beers. And I was thinking, man, this is not worth it.
Yeah.
I mean, I hadn't even got to the happy place.
Yeah.
I just got the hangover.
Yeah.
It was crazy. So, I mean, I must have that liver thing that you're talking about.
Yeah.
But I have never felt now more awake and more of sound mind now that I have
hard out.
Gone, I actually don't need this. And for anyone listening, I'm not saying drinking is wrong, but I'm saying for me, it affected me in a terrible way, and sounds like it was a similar thing for you, Toby.
Yeah, it was. So like it would look very weird times. I these hangover things. I used to get them quite frequently because I used to, drink a lot. And yeah, I wouldn't be able to do anything. Like, things would happen and it just wouldn't make sense. Like, just all these little things. It seemed like I was out of my mind, or, away with the fairies on, drugs. That was what it was like. The experience was just horrible. Like, I'm not, even those weeks that I was in those.
You mean horrible as in, like, the feeling that it brought?
Yeah.
Or did you actually...
I was confused. Like, I was in constant confusion, and I actually can't remember the details of those weeks. Most times, I actually can't even remember those weeks because that's how bad it is. So I'd go drinking for the weekend, and I wouldn't remember the week. And it got worse. Like, I'd go from a week to 2 weeks. Just 2 weeks of pretty much unconsciousness.
Wow.
Like, just in bed, not able to do anything. And it was a very, very scary time. But God in 2020 snapped me out of one and gave me the thought, go to Faith Bible College. And I was like...
Had you heard of Faith Bible College before?
Yeah, my dad went 36 years before me.
Did he?
Yeah, so he came in 86 or something like that.
So he would have known the man, the legend himself, Des.
Yeah. Yeah,
wow.
Des Short. Yep, and he's still around. He was mentoring me last year, and we spent a lot of time. Me and Des, he's an awesome man. He's such a cool father figure to me.
Yeah.
So we spent a lot of time together last year. But yeah, so God did that and started 2020, and I was like, oh, cool. Okay, well, that's cool. And then it started to be my thoughts. I was still dabbling in sin. I was still smoking and whatever, and I was still trying to.
This was. You had started Faith Bible College?
I hadn't. No, I started Faith Bible.
Yet.
Yeah, I started in 2021.
But you had the command to go.
Yeah, but I had the command to go. And then I was like, okay, cool. And then lockdown happened, and I was like, rats. I was planning to go in July of 2020. And I was like, okay, so that's just God telling me He started the whole of COVID just so I wouldn't go in 2020 July. But nah, that's what I was thinking at the time. I was like, okay, God did COVID so I didn't go in July 2020.
Yeah,
cool, sweet as. It's not now then, it's in the future.
Or the devil's doing this to keep me away from God.
Yeah.
I don't know if the devil creates a whole worldwide pandemic just
for me.
For you, probably not.
Nah,
to be fair, I wouldn't take it away from it.
Imagine that, it did that whole thing just for me. Nah, jokes.
It didn't work. So we all suffered for the last couple of years because of you, Toby.
Yep, because of me. What you're saying? Yep. COVID's because of me.
All right, so if anyone wants to put the blame, shout the blame somewhere.
Toby Gray. COVID happened, so I started doing Faith Bible College in February of 2021. So that kind of journey of, God telling me, I was like, okay, cool. I was still trying at that point. It was still a work-based faith. And I was like, okay, cool, I got to try. And I started, just working on it, of, getting free and et cetera, et cetera. And
was that difficult?
That was difficult. It was very difficult. Still trying to catch up with friends and be like, just one drink, and it's more than just one drink. So that never worked out.
So the difficulty was trying to sit on the fence again, more or less.
Yep.
I'm going to go to Faith Bible College, and I'm going to go see my drunk mates, and I'm going to just do both at the same time.
Yeah. So then that happened, and then after lockdown, I was like, mate, I just need to get the heck out of here. It was just like, man, I know God's called me to Faith Bible College, and I want to take this seriously, but mate, this is so difficult. I was dealing with like suicide and depression as well, and I had been this bit of a.
So your suicide and depressional thoughts,
yeah,
had that been developed from? Do you think anyway from going and doing the drugs and the alcohol and?
No.
You don't think so?
No, it stemmed from about a 9-year-old. So when I was 9 years old...
That's very young.
That's very young. From an age of 9, I said to my father that I wanted to die.
Wow.
And I was so what normal, healthy...
There was no event?
No, nothing. No trauma event as a child. What normal, healthy 9-year-old would say that, And that is just the influence of the devil. So it's kind of like a bit of an encouragement to me that I know the devil wants to take me out, but it won't happen. I won't allow that. So yeah, from an early age, things were introduced not by anybody. It just kind of just came in, with wanting, dark thoughts about myself that I struggled with till last year, coming to faith. So I just thought I'd mention that. But yeah, so I've been struggling with that quite seriously most nights, just horrid thoughts, not being able to sleep, wanting to, take my life, which was hard because I never felt like anybody was there for me. I had a loving family, but I felt like no one was there for me. I'd try to talk to mates and then I'd be made fun of. Like I'd go and share what I'm going through at a camp and then it'd be made fun of. Like people would make fun of me because of it. And I was just like, man, like I just was at a dark place where it was just me and the world. So I went off on the path of drugs and alcohol and staying over other people's places, like mates' places, and getting away from everything. Like I just wanted to do my own thing. I wanted to be independent. So I started to kind of leave all this stuff and do my own thing.
Is there anything that could have changed that would have stopped you from getting depressed and stopped you being suicidal? God?
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. So,
because I hear a lack of discipleship there.
Yeah.
Of not having a godly person to...
I had some awesome people. Awesome people. Youth pastors, if I'll name names, Matt Swang, Daniel Scott, my father, and there's others as well. There's others, family members, etc. Others as well. Awesome people who gave 110% for me, but I was never willing to
receive
go full. I was never. Okay. I'd open up enough, but I was always scared that it was going to be made fun of or told to my parents or whatever. But it was always that discipleship was always there. But I never accepted it.
So it was the receiving of the discipleship.
Yeah, so I don't know if that you could call it a lack of discipleship, or if that's on them or if it's on me. I don't actually know because, I don't know. I feel like they gave an awesome effort to try and disciple me.
Just didn't receive it. That saying, you can lead a horse to water, but you can't force him to drink.
Yes, mate. Yeah, that is an awesome... that's...
So they're going, hey, man, I'm here for you. Yeah. If you need anything, I'm here, I'm discipling you, and you're just going, cool, thanks, whatever.
Yeah, exactly. And sometimes I would tell people, and people would just kind of brush it off. Or like some of my closest friends would know about all the stuff that I go through and be like super concerned, and then like tell people, and then people would do nothing about it. And now looking back, I'm like, why the heck did you do nothing about it? So it's a miracle that I'm alive, and that's just...
I think it's a topic, that is one that's... I don't know what to say to make this better, especially if it's a mental illness.
Yeah.
And I'm not disregarding or belittling mental illness. It's gone rampant throughout the whole planet, especially since COVID. And it is one that, it's a tricky one to navigate because
totally
that person's greatest enemy is themselves.
Yes.
And it's just going, like, what do you say? Like, when you tell, if you got somebody who's got a gun to somebody else's head, you say, don't pull the trigger. Don't do that. And that's normal.
Yeah.
But what if the person's got a gun to their own head and it's like, just stop it?
Yeah.
Like, that's sort of where the reaction comes. And it needs to be done with, like, a lot of sensitivity and going, like, you know, let me just pray with you. That's I find, for me anyway, when I'm feeling low, if somebody just goes, hey, can I pray with you? That's huge. Yeah. Absolutely huge.
Totally.
Because you're not only inviting them to partner with you and encouraging you, you're inviting God to do it with them. And that's that missing ingredient that I think, for me anyway, pulls me out. And I think would be the same for most people, allows them to be pulled out properly. Yeah. Without their own strength.
Yeah, true. So I guess it was, I mean, I'll be careful when I say this because I respect the people who were discipling me, but you'd think if it was like real good discipleship that it would pull you out of that state of not wanting to accept, but I don't know.
I think the devil can be whispering some pretty dark things.
Yeah, yes.
There's a wonderful man that's been on this podcast. His name's Remy Good Fortune. So he's been on the podcast twice.
From Queenstown.
Yeah.
Hey,
you know Remy?
Yeah.
Yeah, so he had
Shout out Remy.
Pretty amazing experience. And I've brought this up a couple of times on the podcast. Where he gets deliverance. Yeah. And he used to always think of these lustful thoughts towards women and drugs and different things. Yeah,
I've walked alongside him, so...
Yeah,
the story,
but the biggest thing that he says is after that deliverance, he said for the first time those thoughts, you know how you're saying you have these thoughts from God?
Yeah.
there's also these thoughts from the devil. And he said, for the first time, these thoughts that I had about suicide, about women, about all of these dark things, for the first time, my mind was silent.
Praise the Lord. It's awesome.
And he didn't realize that was the demonic activity actually oppressing his mind. So I think, your friends, your family, your people that discipling you, Toby, really did try, or they would have been trying, but there would have been this other thought that you might not have realized wasn't yours. Going, you are not good enough.
Yes.
You should take your life.
Yeah.
Just abandon this faith. God does not love you.
Yeah.
Those sort of thoughts were these but you would think that they're yours.
Yeah.
But they're not.
Yeah.
They're the devil's. And that when you realize, because the Bible talks about it, we don't wrestle, we don't fight against flesh and blood, but principalities and kingdoms of darkness. That's what we're fighting against. So it's been awakened to that knowledge and not being deceived by thinking, oh, it's just me. Yeah. This weight is just because of me.
Yeah.
Sorry.
No, you're right. No, it's good. That's good. Praise the Lord. Yeah, I'll get to that point where I get set free because there's a good part to the story.
Awesome.
But yeah, so after lockdown, etc., I take off in my car. I go hop in my little hatchback and I go travel to South Island. And I was hoping just to get away and just like indulge back into alcohol and drugs without anybody watching. Just stay in my car, get drunk, do drugs, smoke, etc., and do it so no one could see me. I was just like, mate, I've been in lockdown with my family all the flipping time. I need to get away. Like, I can't do it when they're all there all the time. So I was like, okay, let's get away. And like each week, the Lord just was like, nah, sorry, cuzzy. And just like kept on encouraging me. Like the week before I left, I can't remember what the sermon was about. I wish I remembered what it was about. But I remember that week before I left at church was like really convicting and a great start to before I left, and each week was encouraging, and each week was encouraging and encouraging and encouraging, and it was great. And then I got back from the holiday. Like that trip was turned from what I wanted, an evil plan, to a God plan, which is amazing. And yeah, I got back from that, and pretty much straight away, since I got off the ferry back to Wellington, I just went straight back into intermediate ministry. And I was like, oh, this is cool, but like I want more now. Like intermediate ministry is great, but I want more. And that was, I think I got back about September, October. October, November. And yeah, I just started that journey of, giving it up. And I gave up smoking, and drinking had been off the table for a little bit because of my liver. And I was like, great, well, I'm not going to go back to that. And drugs are off the table. I haven't done those in a while. I was like, great, cool, let's do it then. And I was like, well, God told me at the start of the year, hey, Faith Bible College. So why haven't I done that yet? So then I thought about it. I was like, great, let's start the process of going to Faith Bible College. So I called in, I said, hey, can I come to Bible College? And they sent me to stuff, and then I was like, oh, well, I'm not going to be able to pay for it because I have no money to my name. And then I was able to get the first year free, so that paid for the studies. And then I wasn't sure if I was going to get the student allowance, homeschooled and all this stuff. I was like, mate, this is going to be a bit of a hard one, just because it's, different. And yeah, I got the student allowance. That was enough. It was like, I don't know, $300 a week, and it was like my costs were like $215. So I had like $85 a week that I could, do what I want. I was like, great, I can live off $85 a week, sure. And it happened. So yeah, I got baptized in February 21, and the week after came up to Bible college, and the process began of just decluttering, working on Toby. And man, it was like the first 4 months, it was like each month I kind of like, I'd given up those things, but I kind of started picking back up. Like, it's easier to give them up than it is to stay off them. So I gave these things up repeatedly, but it's harder to restrain from hopping back into smoking. But yeah, so each month was a different thing. It was like, the month I just got set free from smoking, and that was here at Faith Bible College, truly. And then targeted like suicide and depression, and that was crazy because like it was just such a dark month, man. It was, being here was dark. Everything was coming to the surface, like darkness can't what's the verse that goes like, the darkness can't shine because there's light or whatever, like that kind of like analogy, like God came into my darkness and the darkness is no longer dark. So it was all coming to the surface.
Yeah.
And so each month was targeting different things, addiction, music, depression, mental health. And like, I was just thinking these awful thoughts, and it just magnified. It got way worse. And I was like, oh my gosh. And I was like, and then one night I was just like, I remember lying in my bed, I was just like swearing and just like being like, oh, Toby, you're such a letdown, you're so horrible, whatever, all these nasty things. I was like so angry, and then I was just like, hold the flip up, what am I doing? And I was just like, nah, this ends now. So I was like very angry. I just got on my knees and I just started praying and opened the word, read the word, and I was like, nah, I rebuke this in the name of Jesus. And then I had this like angry kind of demonic thing speaking through me, these like curses, of like, you're not worth it, you're not good enough, you aren't, you just take your life, go kill yourself, etc. And I was verbally saying these things. I was like, nah, rebuking it and then whatever. And like God, the next day I woke up and it was like, whoa, like there was this peace. Oh, when in that room,
so you had a similar experience to Remy.
Yeah, just flip peace, man. It was just like so. It was peaceful. It was good, and I was like, and that week kind of went on. I was like, far out. I'm like really feeling good about myself.
So where were you doing all this prayer?
In my room,
just you
D
by
block.
yourself.
Yeah, D8 is my room. We're
okay
100 meters away from it right now. Less than that. That's where it all happened. That was my war room, and I just went to war. Like I'd just get like in my undies and sing like and just go like, Lord, you see me, like find anything good in me, like work on me, strip these things away. And I was rebuking things and addiction and mental health, and God just set me free. And then I was like, man, like weeks went on, I was like, man, I actually have so much free time now because I'm not hating myself all the time. I was like, it's actually great. I actually gained hours in the day, like legit. I was like, man, life is actually like it's longer now. I felt like life was just flying by and I had no time for anything. I was just like, it's because I've been hating myself. It's because I've been staying up till 4 a.m.
Takes a lot of energy to hate
Takes
yourself.
a lot of energy. Going to bed at 4 a.m, waking up, whenever I have to. I wake up like 5 minutes before class started, even earlier, and just jump straight into class because I was just so shattered from the night before. I'd just battle with my mind. And it was evil, man, like for years and years and years, about 10 years with, from 9 to 19, just struggled with it. Like each night, same again, same over. Some nights would be worse, some nights would be okay-ish, but most nights, pretty much all the nights were just dark, and the days were dark, and I just wanted just not to be around. And then the Lord set me free from it, and it was just like, felt like I had so much time in the day. I wasn't hating myself. I could do so much more now, and I just was set free. Like didn't have this like ego of like, yeah, I'm the man, I'm cool, but I was like, I actually am cool.
Yeah.
I didn't have an ego about it. I was like, yeah, I actually am cool, and I actually, God has set me apart, and I actually am free, and I am these awesome things. I'm not stupid. I'm not skinny. Well, I'm skinny, but that like, in a negative way. I'm blonde.
Yeah.
People used to walk down this. I used to walk down the street, and people used to call out like, I won't say the words because they're probably not appropriate, but cuss words about sexuality, kind of like derogatory words, and I was just like, oh well, that's dumb. Like I walk around the town and people just call it out. I'm like, what the flip? Like I wouldn't even see these people some of the time. I just hear it called out. I'm like, well, I know that's directed towards me because there's nobody else around. But yeah, like I didn't have to believe. I didn't believe them anymore. Like I didn't. Whatever. I was just
so
like,
those things didn't apply, eh?
Nah, they don't apply. Like whatever. I'm skinny and I am blonde, but whatever. Those were things that were getting me down.
You're also a son of God.
Yeah.
And how God made you.
Exactly.
He's the perfect maker. He's the one that created you, and you're his masterpiece, is what the Bible tells us. So when you start realizing, okay, well, I need to stop seeing myself how I see myself. I need to see myself how God sees me, which is the truth.
Yeah.
That's the only thing that matters, how God sees me.
Yeah.
And just use the Bible and show yourself. Like, what does the Bible say? When you look into the Word and if you forget it, it's like somebody looking into the mirror, and then when they turn away, they instantly forget what they looked like.
Yeah.
So it's not realizing who you are in the Word is applying to yourself. It's applicable.
Yeah.
Do you, Toby, here's a good question for you. What are the challenges now that you do follow Christ? What are the challenges that you have now following Christ?
Oh, man.
Because God's always transforming, renewing our minds.
Yeah, well, I'm definitely in another kind of season at the moment, and it's very difficult. And I'm definitely on a journey. There's this is only just maybe 10% of the testimony in full, and you'll find the rest out. The rest of the testimony will be released in 80 years. No, I'll come revisit you in 80 years, and then I'll share the 100% testimony. So struggles at the moment. The devil always likes to pick off scabs. So these things do, I find, whoever the Son sets free is free indeed. Amen. And I am set free indeed. But the devil definitely likes to try and pick the scabs off of, addiction and of mental health. And it's just the fact of, being transformed by the renewing of your mind. It's just, sorry, devil. And just moving on. Don't even give it attention. You don't have to dwell on it for a day. You don't have to take a mental health day off and go watch Netflix and eat chocolate or go, You just say, sorry, devil. Never mind. You get these thoughts never mind.
Yeah.
Don't worry about that. I'm walking with the Lord.
You give the devil an inch, he'll take a mile.
Exactly. So I don't even give him an inch. I don't even give him anything. It doesn't wreck my day. I get the thought. I'm like, well, cool, never mind. I'm walking with the Lord. That isn't mental health. I've seriously straight up been set free, and there may have been five thoughts in the last year, straight up. Other than and I've just dealt with them straight away.
That's amazing.
Honestly, that is free.
That's so cool. I love how you said you dealt with your thoughts.
Yeah.
And the Bible says to take your thoughts captive.
Yeah.
And to be renewed by the transformed by the renewing of your mind.
Yeah.
And everything starts with that thought. And there's a great quote that I've heard, and I can't remember where it's from, but it's roughly along these lines of your thought becomes your words become your actions become your character, your character becomes your destiny.
Yeah.
So how do you make your destiny? How do you choose that? You reverse engineer your destiny.
Yeah.
And make sure you take captive your thoughts.
Yep. Totally.
And as long as you got your thoughts right,
yep,
your destiny will be right.
Yep.
As long as you got your thoughts holy, your destiny will be holy. So if you take that seriously and I guess almost crush it at the root.
Yeah.
How do you kill a tree? You don't pick off the leaves, you attack the root.
Yeah.
And I'm saying the tree of I guess the knowledge of good and evil if we want to go real biblical.
Yeah.
But that roots that have taken so deep in our lives on the falseness of what the world tells us we are.
Yeah.
Want to take in the truth of what Jesus says we are.
Yeah, totally.
Is there anyone in particular that you would want to honour in your journey that brought you to faith?
Yeah, well, there's last year when I turned 19, I was like, man, I'm really getting on in life now. No, I was like, oh, I'm getting old now. This is weird. I'm not anyway, now I'm 20. But yeah, I had a real, when I turned 19, I had a real reflection. I was like, oh my gosh. That's when I realized my foundation was rich as, and I was like, oh, I was in the world, but it was inevitable that I was going to turn back to God, like I said earlier. And when I turned 19, I realized that. So I went through and I just kind of gave old children's pastors a call and pastors, and I just said, hey, thank you for, what you did. So yeah, Matt Swank, he was my youth pastor from 13 to 16. He had an awesome impact on me.
It's important to let them know, eh?
Yeah.
Even if he hasn't heard, but he might be hearing right now.
Yeah.
I've said this a couple of times, you just don't know who's had that big impact on you in your life.
Yeah.
It's important to tell them that they've had a huge impact. You're out here being a Christian, living Christ-like, saving souls.
Yeah.
Because this person 10 years ago took me under his wing and discipled me the right way.
Yeah. So Matt Swank, he's massive. Daniel Scott. Daniel Scott was my youth pastor from, I guess, like 16, 17, 18. And yeah, he was awesome. He just kind of walked alongside me. Like, he invested a lot into the older youth, which was cool. Really awesome. We spent a lot of time together, and it was amazing. Yeah, my parents, mum and dad, Deb and Gary, they're awesome. My sister, she's awesome. She's such an influence on me as well, you know.
Awesome.
She'd go around, like, speaking to, like, 300 kids at these kids' camp.
Really?
Yeah,
Wow.
like 14, she'd be like speaking to a crowd of 300. I'm like, whoa, that's crazy.
That's
like, I was
pretty
in
cool.
sin, and she'd be like going off speaking at camp. I was like, man, that's convicting as, you know, younger sister's doing better than I am. So I was just like, I had to kick it up a level, had to show her what's up.
It's good.
But yeah, so there's more people like Rachel Parkinson. I last year I messaged her. I hadn't had contact. She was my Sunday school teacher for a little while. Raywyn Hewitt, she was a Sunday school teacher for a while. There's others as well, but there were two that were just like awesome mothers that were just been awesome. Taught me, like, you know, cool like songs, like Jesus God heaps of lambs, and I did that at, like, Sunday school, and I just love that song. It's so cool. Anyway, just random stuff like that, just really cool influences. So I hit them all up and said, you know, hey, thank you. Because there has been a lot of people that have, like, really sown into me and seen, you know, potential.
Awesome.
And a lot of people see that. I'm like, oh, you know, a lot of people say that and like see it about me, but I just haven't quite seen it about myself yet. Like, I'm like, I'm still like, what's next, God? You know. So like at the moment, I'm taking a step back from Tauranga. I'm going to move back to the South Island, spend a time with a bit of like family, and just kind of like gather my chickens, I guess, and just take a second to.
You got to gather your chickens?
Gather my hens, what's the saying?
I don't know.
Okay, there's a saying. You got to gather your chickens, I don't know. Well, there's a saying. There's a saying.
I'm just making sure it's a saying.
It's a saying.
You're not actually going down there to gather chickens.
Oh, no. Well, maybe. They've got chickens down there. I'll do a bit of, you know, feeding the scraps, picking up some eggs, you know. Maybe
I just wanted to double check.
clipping some wings. Nah, I don't know. No, it's a saying. It's a saying.
Okay.
Yeah, it's just kind of gather my thoughts, you know.
Yeah.
And then potentially revisit Tauranga, or I'm not too sure. I'm just wanting to let the Lord lead. Where's next? You know, we've got
That's
work
the right
to
way to do it.
Yeah, we've got work that needs to be done. The gospel needs to be shared. Our youth are hurting. Our men are hurting. Our women are hurting. Our kids are hurting. Everybody's hurting. So we need to get to work. There needs to be a bit of mahi done, you know. So if it's children, like I have a real like bent towards children. I love children. I've worked like, you know, 2,500 hours plus in like volunteer work for kids camps and stuff like that.
Awesome.
So I've done a lot of work with children, and I flip and love them. And same with youth. You know, youth are more close to my age, so sometimes it's a bit of like a hard one because they're like, oh, you're only like 3, 4, 5 years older than me. So it's like, you know, you gotta. Yeah, so that's another thing, like youth. Do I work with youth or adults? You know, like the Lord gave me a word last year that He's going to use me as a father to the fathers. And I'm like, whoa, that's cool. I'm like 20. I'm like 19. You're going to use me to father like a 40-year-old, which happened. And it was cool. And like God just used me and my words to encourage this father. And I was like, well, praise the
That's
Lord.
really
That's
cool, Toby.
Praise the Lord that He will use me. So I don't know what it looks like, if it's children, if it's youth, if it's men. Those three groups stick out to me. It's a bit hard for me to work with women because I'm not really a woman myself. So men, children, and youth, and yeah, not
That's
sure.
That's awesome.
Yeah, I'll just be stepping back, seeking the Lord. Africa has been put on my heart as well. Not sure if it's now, but that doesn't bother me because I know the timing will come one day.
Very
5 years,
cool.
10 years, whatever.
Awesome. So you did mention before we started this episode of an amazing couple with 4 kids, and they're sailing to different islands and they're working with different missionaries.
Yeah.
I'd love to hear a little bit about that. If you want to just share a little bit about what, because you've been on this boat as well,
Yes, yeah.
and you've seen firsthand what these guys have been doing. And I know it's not your testimony,
Yeah.
but I think we should honour them. We should definitely share what they're doing. And if anybody wants to know more about this, we'll have descriptions in the link below.
Yep.
So do you want to share a little bit about these guys?
Totally. So yeah, I was on the boat with them like a month ago, and we were discussing you guys and how you're going around New Zealand and sharing people's testimonies and missions and stuff like that. And we were just like, wow, that lines up quite well with what LP and Midian do Duplessis is doing. So what they're doing is they've just sold their house, sold everything in New Zealand to go buy a 52-foot catamaran. I think it's 52 feet. Big boat. Well, a good-sized boat for sailing the waters.
I mean, they got 4 kids.
They got 4 kids. Need a bit of room.
You need a bit of room, yeah.
Yeah. They got It's a really cool boat. Old school as. They just sold up everything to buy a boat. And like last year, when LP mentioned it to his wife, he's like, I feel like maybe we should hop on a boat and do missions. And his wife's like, oh, well, you can do that with your next wife because I'm not going. And she was like, against it. And then it kind of went on, and then she joined like Sailing for Women group on Facebook or something like that, and like that's when the Lord started to work on her and like changing her heart to maybe the idea of potentially doing it, which they're doing it now. So, God was working on them both, and she started to be interested, and they're like, okay, well maybe we should take this more seriously. Obviously, there's bits in between. Like I say to people, like if you spend a day with LP and his family, like if you're a non-Christian, you'll be a Christian at the end of the day because God moves massive, and He has in this relationship, in their family, which is amazing. They started to look for a boat, and they were like, having a bit of trouble. They're trying to sell their house, and the timing of their house selling was just perfect.
So tell me a little bit about what their mission statement is.
So I don't. If they have a mission statement, I don't know what it is.
What's their goal?
Their goal is to, I guess the mission statement is Matthew 28, 18 to 20, which is, I'll read it out because this is where their name comes from. 18. Then Jesus came to them and said, all authority in heaven and on earth has been given to me. Therefore go make disciples of all nations, baptizing them in the name of the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit, and teaching them to obey everything I've commanded you. And surely, this is where their name comes from, I am with you always to the very end of the age. So their ministry is called With You Always Ministries, and they're going to the islands and baptizing people, and baptizing people, and they are going and interviewing missionaries just like what you guys are doing, and the village and the churches over there, and sharing their story and what they go through on a daily basis. So they'll film it and they'll send it back over to me so I can edit it. That's kind of my role at the moment. I'd like to join them down the track, but we'll see how that goes. Maybe going to Africa with them. They go to interview missionaries. We've done one with a couple up here with Life Talk Ministries, who host an Indigenous radio station. So they, play Indian worship music, and that's their ministry. So they host a radio station, full-on radio station in their, like one of their spare rooms. It's crazy, really cool stuff. And then we interviewed his parents, who had an awesome impact on him, and their ministry in Kaitaia were pastoring a church, Cornerstone. That's their church in Kaitaia.
That's amazing.
Yeah. So
where are they right now on the planet?
Now, I don't know the island they're parked up at, but anyway, they're parked in an island near New Caledonia. So they're parked there at the moment. I only just read the updates this morning that they're hiding from a storm, but it looks like the storm has passed by. So they're just going to go from that island straight to, I think, Vanuatu.
Cool.
Yep. So they're probably
New Caledonia, Vanuatu. That's north of New Zealand, right?
Yeah.
Pretty much straight north.
Pretty much. Yeah.
So just for anybody listening that might be outside of New Zealand, that's really awesome. I mean, it's awesome to see that God can use anything. You know, like He says to some people, get testimonies heard. He says get testimonies written. And get testimonies seen. And we're hearing a lot of that over the last couple of months, is get testimonies this and that, and share your testimony, how powerful your testimony is. And I think that's a huge movement today, because today truth is such a subjective thing. But when you've got an experience behind you in Christianity of, I was dead, now I'm alive, sort of thing. If I was sick, now I'm healed, then that experience grounded in this truth of the hope that we have is so powerful. It's really cool that you're working alongside them.
Yeah, it's such a blessing to work alongside them, eh?
Yeah,
awesome
so
people.
Huge shout out to, what were their names again?
LP and Miriana Duplessis.
LP and Miriana Duplessis.
Yep, correct.
Awesome.
Yeah.
And their 4 kids That's
Yes.
awesome.
Yeah, 3 to 11 years old, so early stages of life. They're crazy, running all over the show, catching fish, jumping in the water, just having fun. So that's a awesome thing they're doing. Their trust is fully in God, that He'll lead them, for the timing of them going and things that have been appointed, and the people they've met have just been like, oh my gosh, like meeting people on the street or whatever, just talking with people, how connections are made. It's just like, praise the Lord.
That's so cool.
That's why I reached out to you guys, because I'd love to build that bridge.
Absolutely. I mean, we would love to connect with these guys.
Yeah.
So if you're listening right now, just reach out to us, on our website or whatever.
Yeah.
We would love to meet you guys.
Yeah.
And just hear their story, and get it recorded and out to the nations. So I mean, it's important, because these are funny missionaries, missionaries that go out and they get other missionaries' stories.
Yeah.
So their story themselves sometimes isn't shared as much.
Yeah.
So we want to be able to make sure that their story is not only recorded but also shared, because they do so much work for other people's ministries. It's good to have their own sort of recorded properly.
Yeah. And like LP's he's a handyman. He's got tools upon tools on his boat.
Yeah.
So he's just going to go to the islands and do whatever work needs to be doing. He'll interview missionaries, and if there's something that needs to be done, he'll do it. And like one thing as well with testimony, I haven't fact checked this, but hopefully you can confirm. But testimony in Hebrew, I'm pretty sure translates back to do it again, I think.
Oh, wow.
I want to fact check that. I'm pretty sure I learnt it last year at Bible college, so I'm believing in faith that they'll tell me the truth. But anyways, this is cool anyways.
That's
and this
cool.
is the truth with testimony, is when we share testimony, the same Spirit that set us free, when people hear it, it does it again for them.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that's why
sort of relive it through you.
Yeah, God's like, I don't know what God's doing at the moment. He's a pretty crazy, awesome dude. But if He's getting people to share testimonies, maybe He's wanting to do it again for a hang of a lot of people.
Yeah.
We've got a lot of lost people,
Absolutely.
and there's not a hang of a lot of Christians, it feels like. So maybe He wants to use the very few and do it again for multitudes of people.
Yeah.
So I'm believing that that's going to happen. There'll be mass revival, and people will know Jesus on such a deep level.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just thought I'd add that. I need to fact check that. Maybe people can fact check it as well, but that's what I heard at Faith Bible College. So you can,
I mean, even if it's not true, still think of your testimony like, you're doing it again, you're not only seeing what you look like in the mirror, but you're going away and you're not forgetting that. You're acting out the way that the Word tells you are. I love that.
And we tell testimonies so it can happen again. Like it has happened with us, so it can happen for others too.
Yeah.
That's why we share our testimony.
Come on. All right. Well, thank you, Toby, for joining us on the Jesus Magnet podcast. You're an incredible man, and I wish you all the best, all the blessings to go with you on your journey, and hope you enjoyed this episode. Thanks for listening to this episode of the Jesus Magnet podcast. If you enjoyed this, make sure that you connect with us. Find us on Facebook, on Instagram, and if you want to support us, be a member of our coffee club, Jesus Magnet Coffee Club. See you next time on the Jesus Magnet.